Yo, what's going on, guys? It's me, Jay, here to do a SummerSlam 2024 review. Yeah, it was a big night for WWE, and it was Cleveland, Ohio, and the return of the Tribal Chief, Roman Reigns. That's the main storyline that I want to talk about. I want to talk basically about two specific storylines that I pay close attention to, two specific matches that I played close attention to. It was what then, and neither one was the best match on the card. Let's put it that way. I would say the best match on the card, in my opinion, was LA Knight versus Logan Paul for the United States Championship. And let me just say this about Logan Paul. Um, yeah, he's really improved to a point where I feel like his name is now more synonymous with WWE than boxing or social media. Of course, he started off as a YouTube influencer, and we even clowned him a lot on this channel when he first got into boxing. He did his the hype video for his first boxing fight in 2021 against, well, not his first boxing fight. That was with KSI, but his first like big boxing fight against a big name in Floyd Mayweather, and we clowned him on this channel. It's in the archives. Go look it up. Floyd Mayweather versus Logan Paul, and we clowned him here. And then when he fought Roman Reigns a couple of years later, after getting into the WWE, we clowned him then. We clowned him, when he was at WrestleMania 37, and in the Sami Zayn Kevin Owens match, and he just sat there. You know what I mean? But over the years, he's really proven to me, especially like at WrestleMania 38, when he had the tag team match, him and The Miz against the Mysterios. He's really proven to me that he is here to stay and he's serious about being in professional wrestling. You know what I mean? And still doing his podcast thing. He's not really doing boxing anymore. He's kind of left that up to his brother, who recently had the match. I mean, the boxing fight against Mike Perry, which was supposed to be against Mike Tyson, but we didn't cover it, and how he completely destroyed Mike Perry, further proving my assertion that boxers should never. I mean, MMA fighters should never get into boxing ring. Every time they do, they're completely destroyed by the likes of Jake Paul and other fighters. But as far as Logan Paul, yeah, I'm glad that he's, doing pretty well, and he's no longer the United States champion. That goes to LA Knight, that distinction. But they had the best match of the night. Um, Nia Jax is now your new WWE Women's Championship. She defeated champion. She defeated Bayley. This was a pretty good match as well. Obviously Nia Jax with the weight advantage. Throwing her weight around, and she got the W. Um, the and okay, now the two matches I do want to talk about. Um, Rhea Ripley versus Liv Morgan, with Dominic Mysterio in Rhea Ripley's corner. Now, I know I didn't talk about um, the Liv Morgan, the episode of Monday Night Raw where Liv Morgan showed her ass cheeks and she got kayfabe rejected by Dominic Mysterio in Spanish. But I didn't speak about that because I was not really impressed by Liv Morgan's ass. To be honest with you guys, I feel like Rhea Ripley has the better ass when it comes down to the two of them. Rhea Ripley is definitely much hotter, and I don't know. I feel like from a kayfabe point of view, Dominic Mysterio kind of made the wrong choice. I feel like the whole angle is supposed to be like, okay, Rhea Ripley was out with the injury. Dominic Mysterio did nothing to, he didn't even call her. He neglected her completely. He turned his back on her, and now he's completely turned his back on her by costing her the championship, and then at the end of it, kissing Liv Morgan. But come on, like I knew this was gonna happen. You know what I mean? Like this was the most predictable heel turn that I've ever seen because other than when he turned on his father, right? Two was it like 2 years ago at Clash of the Castle at the end of that tag match? That was predictable. Dominic Mysterio, to me, I don't know, maybe in 5 years, 6 years. Good thing, thank God for video because you have me on record now saying this. But I don't think Dominic Mysterio could ever be a babyface. Now, if 5 years from now, 6 years from now, 10 years from now, he turns babyface and he becomes one of the biggest babyfaces in WWE, I'll have egg on my face. And much like Bret Hart in Wrestling with Shadows, when he said this about Triple H, he turned out to be wrong because Triple H, a year later, turned out to be the biggest babyface, one of the biggest babyfaces in the WWF at that time with DX. So maybe I'm wrong. Maybe in a couple of years, or even maybe a year, maybe 5 years, maybe 6 years, maybe 7 years, Dominic Mysterio will be a great babyface. But as for now, Dominic Mysterio is a heel, and I knew Dominic Mysterio was going to turn on Rhea Ripley because Rhea Ripley is obviously turning babyface. I mean, when a wrestler comes back from an injury, they turn babyface. I mean, this is Wrestling 101. Anybody that's been watching wrestling for a number of years knows this to be true, and it's obvious it was true again. So you can't have a heel and a babyface together, so you have to break up Mommy and Dirty Dom, and that's exactly what they did. And the way they went about it was cool. And the heat he got from both Michael Cole and Pat McAfee on commentary was incredible. They kind of they were making it like when Hulk Hogan turned heel in 1996, and Tony Schiavone and Bobby Heenan and Dusty Rhodes, all three of them got on Hogan. You know what I mean? That's what they were making it like. And Rhea Ripley looked hot. Sean says Dominic's a cornball. I agree. Dominic, yeah, he's kind of corny, man. And that mustache, it got to go. Dominic, you know what I mean? You look weird with it, bro. Like, you really have to shave that shit. Like, he just looks like he's totally weird. I know he's trying to be Eddie Guerrero, you know what I mean? Like, but Eddie Guerrero, I mean, there's only one Eddie Guerrero, rest in peace. You know what I mean? And you ain't it. You know what I mean? Like, but come on. Rhea Ripley is anybody on here that says that Liv Morgan is hotter than Rhea Ripley, I mean, you need your eyes checked, bro, because Liv Morgan her ass is flat. Her ass is flat as a pancake. You know what I mean? Like, y'all were sitting on here, and I didn't do a video about it. You know what I mean? I didn't do a video on that Monday Night Raw when she showed her ass, but I seen the reactions that y'all was all coming with, and y'all were acting like you never seen a woman's ass before. Maybe some of y'all haven't. You know what I mean? But I'm saying that there's way better asses out there in the WWE, and even in this feud, it's you know what I mean? There's better asses. But the match itself was pretty good. You know what I mean? She rammed herself. You know, Rhea Ripley put herself, injured her shoulder, and she rammed herself into the announce table to put it back in place. That was pretty cool. But and another major storyline I want to talk about is, again, the Tribal Chief, the OTC, the original Tribal Chief, the OG Tribal Chief is back. Roman Reigns, who hasn't been seen since WrestleMania, is finally back, and he cost Solo Sikoa the match. You know, he came out, it was bloodline rules, and he cost Solo. You know what I mean? He speared Solo, and Jacob Fatu came out, interfered on Solo's behalf, and Jacob Fatu, a tremendous talent, man. The way that dude moves around for a man his size, I never seen nothing like it in wrestling. I've been watching wrestling since 1990. So, you know what I mean? Like he just moves. He's smooth. But Roman Reigns, man, the reaction he got when he came out, incredible. You know what I mean? Like finally, he's back to being a good guy, and you knew he would be. But my whole thing is now, like when you got Cody Rhodes, it makes Cody Rhodes look weak. You know what I'm saying? Like this dude, Cody Rhodes, he can't even win a big match without interference. I mean, he had interference. I mean, look at WrestleMania. He had interference from John Cena. He had interference from Seth Rollins. He had interference from uh, The Undertaker. You know what I mean? Like, can he win a match by himself? You know what I mean? Like, he's the champion, and he can never be nobody from the bloodline by himself. Now, granted, people will say, oh, well, the bloodline, they always, gang up on people. That's their mentality, gang-like mentality. So he needs the help, right? Like, like he won matches against, Randy Orton and AJ Styles. I mean, not Randy Orton, AJ Styles. He didn't face Randy Orton yet, but AJ Styles and other people by himself. But when it comes to you needed Roman Reigns to save you. Like you're the new champion, but you needed the ex-champion to save you. Like, how does that make sense? You know what I'm saying? Like putting a match as bloodline rules every match. Like it was cool for WrestleMania because you needed to involve The Rock somehow. And then like somebody like The Undertaker, or it was supposed to be Stone Cold and should have been Stone Cold, was going to get involved to save him from The Rock. Like that makes sense for WrestleMania. But for this, it didn't need to be bloodline rules unless you're going to involve Roman Reigns. But even then, you couldn't involve Roman Reigns at the end. Like Solo Sikoa lose, he's laid out. Cody Rhodes give him the crossroads. And then Roman Reigns comes out and he spears Solo. You know what I mean? So you just put the man who hasn't been on TV since April, right in front of your champion that's been carrying the ball ever since April. So you just communicated to the audience, and you basically told the audience that your champion don't matter. He's weak. You know what I mean? He can't defeat the bloodline by himself. And the guy that really matters is the OG tribal chief, the original tribal chief, Roman Reigns, which we already known that. But it just seemed like, Cody was only being a placeholder for him. And his reign didn't even matter, which it really didn't. I mean, because if we're keeping it 100, Cody Rhodes' reign as champion from WrestleMania 40 to now has been some of the most boringest shit that's been on WWE. Because the whole time that he was champion, we're paying attention to only the Bloodline storyline. Anything that we can name that's interesting from WWE is either from the Bloodline storyline on SmackDown or the Judgment Day Rhea Ripley Dominic Mysterio storyline on Raw. Nothing from Cody Rhodes. When Cody Rhodes was feuding with AJ Styles and shit, nobody cared about that. Nobody paid attention to it. People were still talking about what's going on with the bloodline. Who's going to be the newest bloodline member? When's the newest bloodline member going to come out? Right? But now, and even now, like you got Roman Reigns back. So now Roman Reigns, he got his original. He's going to put together the original OG bloodline versus the new bloodline 2.0 of Solo Sikoa. Because remember, these people, they're the new people in bloodline like Jacob Fatu, like Tangaloa, and the other guy, both Ming's sons, put it that way, Ming's sons. You know what I mean? They're loyal to Solo. They're not loyal to Roman Reigns. So Roman Reigns got to get the Usos back together. You know what I mean? And that's if, they don't just put Jey Uso feuding with Dominic Mysterio, what they might do, because you know how you gonna blow off this Dominic Mysterio Rhea Ripley storyline? You need a guy to feud with Dominic Mysterio, like unless you have an intergender match, which you could do an intergender match, really, because Dominic Mysterio, he's a pussy. You know what I mean? He's not that big, so it's not like a man beating up a real woman. Like he's like a manager, right? You know what I mean? So it's sort of like they did back in the day in WCW with Miss Jacqueline and Disco Inferno. Like it's not really a man, it's man beating up a woman, but it's not really like that. Or like the Good Housekeeping match that China had with Jeff Jarrett in 1999 when she won the Intercontinental Championship. It's something like that. You know what I mean? So you could do that, but obviously you could involve Jey Uso. But if you don't, and you bring Jey Uso back to SmackDown, and you bring the OG bloodline against the new bloodline, you know what I mean? That's first of all, that's copying the NWO because the NWO already did that shit back in 1998 when they had Wolfpack versus NWO Hollywood. You know what I mean? That's the same thing. Like I told Sean, and I said this on Facebook, everything that's being done right now is stuff that the NWO did already. You know what I mean? Like NWO plays the trail. Everything, there would be no bloodline if it wasn't no NWO. Granted, the people in NWO wasn't related by blood, and not everybody in the bloodline is either. That's just a name. You know what I mean? Like Haku's sons ain't really related to Roman Reigns' family like that. Not like actually, like biologically and shit. You know what I mean? But this whole idea of a good guy version of the bloodline and a bad guy version of the bloodline, we've seen that already with the NWO. You know, everything they're doing now, the NWO did it first. The NWO did things before anybody did anything. You know. But notice how fans never complain that the NWO, I mean that the bloodline rather, has too many members. They never be like, oh well, the bloodline has way too many members. You know what I mean? Like they used to with the NWO. They always say, oh, like all the historians and all these documentaries, oh, the thing that destroyed the NWO was they had too many members. You know what I mean? But the bloodline has too many members. Every time we turn around, there's a new bloodline person being added to the fucking bloodline. You know, like it's like, yo, how many sons, how many family members does Roman Reigns have? I mean, yeah, this guy's a member of the bloodline. This guy's a member of the bloodline. You know, like, shit just gets ridiculous. And nobody in the bloodline has any of their own personality. You know what I mean? They're just like big Samoan motherfuckers standing around beating people's ass. Like they don't have their own catchphrases or anything. They don't have their own unique style. They're just lame, in my opinion. Like a lot of these guys, I feel like when the bloodline is over, like when the storyline is finally over and everybody's moved on, like Tonga Loa and Loa Tonga, whatever, those two twins, like Haku's two sons or whatever. I don't know if they're twins, but you know what I mean? They look alike. You know what I mean? But like they're not gonna be doing anything. You know what I mean? Like they're just gonna be like their father was in the Faces of Fear in WCW with Barbarian. Like they're just gonna be there, because they don't have any personality. They don't have any charisma. These two. Jacob Fatu, he will be doing something. He will be a star, Jacob Fatu, because, like I said, the way that nigga moves, there's nobody out there that moves the way that he moves ever in professional wrestling, ever. You know what I mean? So he will be having a future. Solo will be having a future. But these other two, and the other guy, Hakuloa, the guy that has yet to come out that they say is going to be the newest member of the bloodline in a couple of weeks, he's like a giant version of Haku, a.k.a. Ming. You know what I mean? Like, he's He's going to be another guy that just stands around and just beats people up and doesn't say much. Only thing, I acknowledge you, and after a while that gets boring. You know what I mean? But nobody's saying that about the BL. You know what I mean? Like they did about the NWO. Oh, all they do every week is come out and they cut promos in the ring and they hardly ever wrestle. But that's what the bloodline does. That's what the bloodline does. So basically, what you have here is a bootleg, like you have a copycat storyline. You have the same exact storyline that they had in WCW with the NWO, but you swap out Sting for Cody Rhodes. But the difference was when Sting was taking on the NWO in the 90s, Sting was doing it all solo. He was doing it all by himself. You know what I mean? Sting didn't have help. You know what I mean? He was taking out 30 members of the NWO by himself in the middle of the ring every Nitro when he dropped down. Cody Rhodes ain't doing that. Cody Rhodes is calling for backup each and every time. You know what I'm saying? He's calling for backup with Kevin Owens. He's calling for backup with Randy Orton. He's calling for backup with Undertaker, Seth Rollins, all these other people, Roman Reigns now, John Cena. You know what I mean? Like he might be having Arn Anderson. Arn Anderson actually came back to the WWE and was in the back in Cody Rhodes' corner, talking to him. Of course, his manager when he was in AEW. You know, I don't know. I guess Arn Anderson's gonna give Cody Rhodes his spot, not his liver spot, not his dog spot, but his spot. I don't know. But how many people, the point is, how many people is this weak champion, Cody Rhodes? This is the guy that we all pulled for when we thought The Rock was gonna take his spot at WrestleMania. We all got online, the We Want Cody movement, and all of the internet wrestling community chipped in, putting their opinions on message boards and videos like the one I made to change our minds because we were all behind Cody. But we finally got to Cody, and it's like the girl you always wanted that was the hottest in your school, and you finally fucked her and the pussy was trash. That's what Cody Rhodes' title reign has been. A big, huge letdown. You know what I mean? Like, keeping it 100. Your champion should be the focus of this show. You know what I mean? Your champion should be the guy that people pay to watch and pay to see. John Cena was that in the 2000s. Stone Cold Steve Austin was that in the 90s. Hulk Hogan was that in the 80s. You know what I mean? Like, he shouldn't have help, because when he has help, it communicates again to the audience that he needs help. Stone Cold Steve Austin, when he was doing his thing, he was taking out the corporation, Vince McMahon's group, in 1998. In 1999, all by himself. Nobody was helping. He was taking them all out. He was taking out Kane, Undertaker, in triple threat matches and shit. John Cena was doing that too with the Nexus in 2010. You know what I mean? So your champion, especially when your champion is a good guy, when he's a bad guy, he can get help. Like Ric Flair hid behind the Four Horsemen in the 80s. Hulk Hogan hid behind the NWO in the 90s. Triple H hid behind Evolution in the 2000s. You know what I mean? Like a bad guy champion can do that, but a good guy champion can't do that. You know what I mean? It just conveys to the audience a bad message. That your champion can't take on all comers by himself. And they know that. That's why they always make all his big matches against the bloodline rules. Like this is the new get out of the jail free card. Like no disqualifications were, or hardcore rules matches were in the 2000 in the 90s and the 2000s. Or when a guy couldn't really wrestle, just put a hardcore, a hardcore rules match or falls count anywhere on him, and then he could have a bunch of interference, and then it wouldn't even have to be a good match. He'll just have that. What would have been cooler, like I said, he takes out Solo and then Roman Reigns and him stand up and look at each other. And it's like, okay, I'm back now. You know what I mean? And then like building to like the next year's WrestleMania, because we all know Roman Reigns is going to be the one to take the belt off Cody. I mean, that's pretty obvious. And then they do the same thing too on Raw with the World Heavyweight Championship. Damian Priest, one of the coolest motherfucking characters they got out right now, and he hasn't really had a good feud on Raw at all. And like another thing I want to mention, another match I want to talk about. I know I said I was only going to talk about two matches, but this match popped into my mind. Drew McIntyre versus CM Punk. Here's another guy that was hyped up. CM Punk is old. CM Punk is beat up. This match was slow. CM Punk could hardly move around. They had to do the referee thing. Again, this is a copycat storyline. This is something that they did at another SummerSlam in 1997, where Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels was enemies at the time. And Shawn Michaels had to be the referee in the match of Bret Hart versus Undertaker. And you were like, well, how's he going to interfere? He hates Undertaker and he hates Bret Hart. You know what I mean? So you involve the referee, you put the referee as a centerpiece. And they do this a lot when a guy can't really wrestle like that. You know what I mean? Undertaker was injured at the time in 97 when they did it. They did it again in 2003 at a Bad Blood pay-per-view when it was Kevin Nash and Mick Foley, because Kevin Nash was coming back from an injury, the injury that he suffered in 2002 against Triple H at Hell in a Cell 2003. So they had Mick Foley in there. Mick Foley wrestled most of the match. Same thing with Undertaker versus Triple H at WrestleMania 28 in 2012. Shawn Michaels was the referee, and he wrestled some of the match. You know what I mean? So they do this storyline a lot when one of the guys can't really wrestle. And it was obvious that CM Punk doesn't have it anymore. I feel like CM Punk is best served now as an announcer. You know what I mean? Like being the next wrestler turned announcer, like another Jesse Ventura or Jerry the King Lawler type. You know what I mean? Like that kind of role. Being in the ring is not for him. You know what I mean? I know we were all hyped up when he returned to WWE after being gone for 10 years and being in AEW for 2 years, and the controversy that he had going on in AEW at the time. But I mean, it's obvious he don't have it no more. You know what I mean? Like Seth Rollins to me is a real MVP. He's a real G in the business, because he goes out there and he entertains no matter what. You know what I mean? Like this guy is a phenomenal wrestler and a future Hall of Famer. He dresses crazy. You know what I mean? Don't get me wrong. The way that he dresses, I can't vouch for that. You know what I mean? Like, but the way that he wrestles, you know me, yeah. But yeah, I'm happy to see Roman Reigns back in wrestling. People that said he was going to retire, people that said he was going to go to AEW. He was never going to go to AEW. That's that was never going to happen. AEW is a sinking ship. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't talk about the Shane McMahon story because until I actually see Shane McMahon on AEW, I'll say then that Shane McMahon is actually in AEW. You know what I mean? Like, I know I saw the backstage picture with him at Tony Khan's desk or whatever, and like people are shocked, like, oh, a McMahon family member is in a wrestling company that's not the WWE. You know what I mean? Like, they compared this to like 2002 when Eric Bischoff, when Vince McMahon introduced Eric Bischoff as the Raw GM, and people were shocked about that. But that was on TV. So until I actually see Shane McMahon walk out as a character, Shane Brandon, you know what I mean? Because he can't use McMahon because I guess it's still trademarked by WWE. But I don't know how. That's his legal name. That's his birth name. His birth certificate, his government name. You know, like I don't know how they could trademark that. But Shane Brandon, I mean, that's his middle name. But I mean that just sounds corny as fuck. You know, Shane Brandon. You know what I mean? Like, but until I actually see that, until I actually see Shane come out and be like, I'm in AEW now. You know, I'm the commissioner of AEW or whatever role he's going to play with there, I'll believe it. But until then, seeing is believing when it comes to that. But no, Roman Reigns was not going to go. Roman Reigns was not going to go to AEW at all. You know what I mean? Like, those rumors were totally false. You know what I mean? Like, first of all, there's nobody there that anybody wants to see him wrestle besides MJF. And if anything, if anybody's going to be jumping, it's going to be MJF to WWE instead of Roman Reigns to AEW. um, Joe Hendry didn't show up. Thank God. I'm getting a little annoyed with that song. I believe in Joe Hendry. Say his name and he appears. Mm. I didn't watch the whole thing, so I don't know if Wyatt Six showed up. Maybe they did. I watched the matches that I really care about. See, that's the beauty of Peacock. It's not like back in the day. We ordered a pay-per-view, but like we cared about 2 or 3 storylines. We had to sit through the whole thing, even boring ass cruiserweight matches. You know, sometimes they were boring. But I mean, I know people love Dean Malenko, but come on, Dean Malenko, he might have been a great wrestler, but he was one of the most boringest wrestlers. So was Chris Benoit. I don't give a fuck. I know the IWC worships him, but to me, he's a scumbag who murdered his wife and his child, and he's burning in hell, right? So I don't care that he was a boring ass wrestler. You know what I mean? I was there, 2004 when he won the World Heavyweight Championship in WrestleMania 20. Madison Square Garden, right? And I didn't care about it. I care more about the Eddie Guerrero Kurt Angle match that was for the WWE Championship. So I always found him a boring ass wrestler, and he was an even worse human being. So when matches like that would come on, especially like when you would order a WCW pay-per-view back in the day, you didn't really care about those storylines, and you wish you could skip them, but you couldn't because it was a pay-per-view and you were paying buku bucks for it. You know what I mean? So, but with Peacock, you can just skip over that shit. Anyway, peace, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Hit the bell button to see my next videos coming out. Love you guys. Peace. Sean, thank you for contributing. You my boy as always. Peace out.